Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account and says, my best guy friend, 26 male, is getting married, but my 24 female, abusive ex, 26 male, is in the wedding party. Help. Okay, I'm going to try my best to summarize this without too much detail. I, 24 female, met my best guy friend, Jacob, 26 male, and my ex, Matt, 26 male, my first year of college. The three of us were pretty much inseparable, until things between Matt and me got ugly. The details of our relationship aren't important to my question, but suffice it to say that we went through 9 months of a typical abusive relationship pattern. Tension, then explosion, then a honeymoon period, repeat, before I got myself out of that bullshit. Matt was mostly emotionally abusive, but there were incidents of physical abuse right before I left. Much of Matt's abusive behavior was spurred by a severe anxiety disorder, which is partially why it was hard for me to leave. Only Jacob and I really knew how bad his mental health was, and I used to stay up with him until like 3 AM, helping him through panic attacks. On the day I finally left, well, the day that started my process of leaving, I called Jacob and said, you have to come here and help Matt. I can't do this anymore. He didn't know Matt was abusive towards me prior to that day, but he's well aware now. Anyway, Matt and I tried having a friendship. I don't know why, but it didn't happen for obvious reasons. However, Jacob remained close friends with Matt and me separately. Since college, I've gotten married. My husband really likes Jacob and he was an usher in our wedding, and Jacob got engaged. Great. Except I quickly realized that I'd be forced to be around Matt for the first time in years, as Matt will be a groomsman. For clarification, I'm not in the wedding party. I might be asked to help in some other way, but not in the wedding party. Matt has attempted to contact me a few times since I started dating my now husband, Aaron, 29 male. Most recently was a text a few days after my wedding, which I ignored. It's mostly been Facebook messages that say, in a lot more words than this, I'm sorry about everything, can we be friends? The first time, I responded, detailed all the reasons why we couldn't be friends and asked him to not contact me again. But in the handful of messages after that, my answer was just pretty much, I told you not to talk to me, go away, and then no response at all. Matt also found out I was in town a few times when I visited Jacob and some friends. They still live in our college town and tried to invite himself over to make amends with me, but I've successfully avoided seeing him since I graduated college almost 3 years ago. Since I'm sure this question will come up, I'm not Facebook friends with Matt, but I haven't blocked him. I want to keep tabs on where he is in case he moves or I move. It hasn't been a problem. Matt's maybe contacted me through there 4 times in the past 3 years. Aaron never met Matt, but he knows all about how he treated me. I went through therapy post Matt and pre Aaron and I'm healed from my abuse now, but I'm worried about seeing Matt in person. I don't think I have any major emotional reaction at the wedding since it doesn't bother me much anymore, but I'm nervous that Matt will come up and try to say something to me or Aaron. Aaron isn't the type that would get aggressive with Matt, but he would definitely get in Matt's face and ask him to leave us alone. Aaron is very non-confrontational until he thinks I'm being treated badly. Even still, he's not going to punch the dude in the face. Also, I have no idea on the status of Matt's mental health. Last time I asked Jacob, which was a long time ago, he said he was doing a lot better, but I have no idea what that means. I just don't want to cause any issues or tension on my best friend's big day. Matt isn't dangerous in that he would hurt me or Aaron or anyone else, so this doesn't require a restraining order or something like that, and the situation doesn't require us not to attend the wedding. Mostly, I think it will lead to a very uncomfortable situation, and I'm not sure how to prep my husband or myself for that situation, which will most likely happen. Edit. A lot of people are coming down hard on Jacob for staying friends with Matt, and honestly, I understand. I initially found it shitty and hypocritical, but I've gotten over it, really. I think Jacob was in a rough spot because this was happening to his 2 best friends, and when I left Matt and Jacob found out about the abuse, I think Jacob felt he had to be there for both of us. I should also note that Jacob knew Matt first, so I'm sure he felt obligated to him. Matt had an anxiety disorder, and I think he needed Jacob there to help him get help. I don't endorse their friendship, but not many people really understand abuse, and since mine was so much emotional abuse and only a small portion physical, that makes it even harder for people to understand. So if it were the other way around and I were you guys reading this, I'd definitely respond the same way and say Jacob's being a bad friend, but he's honestly been one of the best friends I've ever had. And a piece of shit like Matt isn't worth losing a great friend like Jacob. I'll mull over this part a little bit and talk to Aaron for his input, but I'd really like insight on how to deal with Matt and the wedding. And I don't blame the commenters, I assume it was the commenters, side-eyeing Jacob in this situation, because when you've been staying best friends with someone after finding out they abused another close friend, even though OP seems to have accepted it, I wouldn't be able to stay around someone that abused their partner in that way. I just wouldn't be able to do it. No chance. And OP just seems worried about protecting everyone else's feelings while almost in some ways minimizing what happened to her. She's worried about making the wedding awkward, she's worried about how her husband's reacting, she's worried about Jacob being stuck in the middle. Meanwhile, Matt abused her for months and continued ignoring her reasonable boundaries for a long time afterwards. A commenter suggests to OP, could you send Matt a message on Facebook before the wedding? Something like, Matt, since I know we'll both be at Jacob's wedding, I just wanted to remind you that I'm not interested in being friends. I've previously explained in detail why this is the case. Please refrain from trying to reconnect or otherwise talking to me or my husband at this event. I know we both care deeply about Jacob, and I'd rather avoid causing a scene on his big day. Please respect my decision and do not respond to this message. If nothing else, his response, or hopefully lack thereof, should give you an idea of what to expect from him at the wedding. Also, you should ask Jacob to talk to Matt. You should remind Matt to leave you alone at the wedding and emphasize that to do otherwise could possibly ruin one of the most important days of his life. OP responded saying, this is the best idea I've read so far. I'll think it over, but I think this is what I end up doing. Thanks so much. So it was 4 months later that OP did come in with an update and says, hi everyone. Had such great advice on my original thread that I decided to update everyone on what happened at the wedding. I took the advice of writing to Matt prior to the wedding and explicitly stating that he should not approach me. About a month or so before the wedding, I sent him a Facebook message, and I didn't pull any punches. I figured this was my one and only chance to let him have it. I told him that I wanted to make it absolutely clear that he abused me, and it wasn't a conclusion I came to on my own, but through the guidance of therapists and other abuse survivors. I said that I was telling him that because not only was it important for him to recognize it, but it was important for me to say it. I then went on to say that because he abused me, I was not and never would be interested in having a friendship with him, and I wasn't doing that to be mean or closed-minded, but because I needed it for my own mental health. I told him he was at one point very important to me, but he threw that away with his thoughtless treatment of me. So I wrapped up my message to Matt by saying that I wanted to enjoy Jacob and Andrea's wedding and support one of my best friends getting married, and that if he didn't respect me enough as a woman to honor my request to leave me alone, he could talk to my husband, Aaron, 30 male, about it. So anyway, Matt surprisingly didn't respond to me. Last time I tried to call him out on his abuse, he called me screaming and saying that I was jeopardizing his future career as a teacher. So I was ready for that, and it didn't happen thankfully. Prior to the wedding, I was pretty nervous. I didn't know what kind of reaction I'd have in seeing him, and I was really concerned he'd approach me or try to talk to my husband, but he actually left me alone. When I saw him for the first time at the wedding, all I felt were the same feelings I had when I saw him around campus after I finally left him. Some mixture of resentment, pity, annoyance, and complete disinterest in him as a person. I was really happy about that because I wasn't sure how I'd react after not seeing him for 3 years, but my mental health held up. I caught him looking at me a few times, but that was the extent of our interaction at the wedding, and I could tell he was the exact same person he was in college, based on his behavior at the wedding, so my assumptions were correct. It was terribly mean and resentful of me, but I was over the top happy that all of the other groomsmen found him unbearable. They told me so without knowing our history, and he had no one to talk to at the wedding. He talked to a few college girls into dancing with him, but I was surrounded by my incredible husband and a big group of friends who were thrilled to see me. So in the end, I got the better life and he's still a fuck. To be honest though, it was a little tough seeing him. At one point in my life, I really did love him. And as my husband put it, I don't easily burn emotional bridges. I always hold on to the hope with people, even if they treated me badly. But Matt and I stupidly tried being friends while we're still in college and after we'd separated, and it was a disaster. It was just abusive relationship 2.0 for us. So for my mental health and self-respect, I knew I could never have him in my life in any capacity, and that's a little hard to accept at times. Anyway, this is hopefully the last time I'll ever have to see him. I expect him to try and contact me again in the future, some years down the road, but he hasn't since my message. I'm hoping that it finally made him confront the reality of what happened between us, since he was still putting at least partial blame on me for our situation. But I'm done making myself feel even the smallest bit responsible for him. Sorry this was long, but it helps to talk it out. Thank you again everyone for your help. I truly appreciate it. Opie then goes on to explain why Jacob stayed friends with Matt and says, it is painful to admit, but there are redeeming qualities in Matt. He and Jacob are very similar people, except Matt is selfish, immature and abusive and Jacob isn't. In fact, part of why it was hard to leave Matt was that Jacob and I were his only real friends, so I felt a lot of responsibility to help him through his anxiety disorder. But yeah, absolutely wouldn't stay friends with someone who abused my friend, but I can't really be angry at Jacob. At first it bothered me, but I know Jacob made it painfully clear to Matt that he was a complete piece of shit for what he did to me and prioritized our friendship over theirs. And in truth, Matt's actions damaged their relationship, which hasn't ever been fully fixed. Matt wasn't best man, and before everything that happened with us, he absolutely would have been. He also didn't hang out with Matt as much through the rest of college. Honestly, having Jacob there for Matt made it a lot easier for me to leave, so there's that too. And yeah, I kept telling myself I shouldn't give a shit. I still loved him, but I knew I shouldn't and knew I had to get away from him. So having Jacob around to make sure Matt was taking his medication and not dangerously close to killing himself made me feel better about getting out. It also made me feel better to have some sort of safety net between me and Matt. If Matt was ever like, hey, I should call her, Jacob said, no, you absolutely shouldn't. Like I said, I wouldn't have made the same choice that Jacob did, but I'm not mad at him or anything. And yeah, I sincerely hope that Matt learned a lot from losing pretty much everyone. I think he did, which is why he tried to contact me a few times. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a throwaway account and says, friend's boyfriend is stalking me, and I don't know how to talk to her about it. Hi everyone, I've been a listener and lurker for her at some time now. I thought I'd come here first. I remembered a similar post pop up and I really need advice on what to do. I've been in a few activities with Rory, 20 female, over the past school year, and we grew close, though we were friendly before, but didn't know a lot about each other. I found out she had a boyfriend of a year that happened to be from the same high school I went to. Not super odd since a few of my schoolmates from before are also now in my college, and I chalked it up to one of those what a small world kind of things. Rory and I got even closer this past semester since we're both in the student government and the student paper. We hang out a lot outside of activities. I include her in some of the hangouts of my closer friend group. In one of the hangouts we met her boyfriend, Logan, 20 male. Ever since that hangout, I keep meeting Logan in places where I would normally be, and places where I plan to be. Again, I would normally chalk this up to being a coincidence, but the city where my college is in is huge. I don't even see some of my closest friends on a random day if not for it being planned. It happens at my cafe spot where I study, or places I mentioned to my friends I'll be doing errands in. It started to feel scary how often I see him and I get scared going outside and meeting him. He is nice when we meet, but I get a sick feeling whenever we talk and I feel like I'm being scrutinized or watched. I don't know how it keeps happening. I haven't really told anyone because it sounds weird in my own head. What more to others? I want to speak to Rory about it because maybe she has an idea why he is essentially stalking me, but I don't really know how to move from here or how to articulate what I want to say. I don't even know if I should talk to Rory at all because I don't want to come across as a homewrecker or anything or blow up our really nice friendship. Any advice please would be really helpful. So a commenter says to OP, check your bags and other items for trackers. You post a lot on social media telling people what you're up to. Change the routes you take. Please remember you do not have to interact with him just because he's your friend's boyfriend. There's no reason for you to spend any time with him whatsoever. Opie says thank you. I'll leave if I ever spot him again. I'm pretty low-key on social media and my Instagram has been private since I made it years ago. I haven't even thought of checking for a tracker. A commenter says, does he approach you when you see him in these locations, and if so, does he try to keep communicating with you, or just says hi and goes on his way? I'll definitely try to ignore him or just say hi and go whenever that happens. Also, are you sharing your location with Rory or anyone else that might be his mutual friend? I'd personally turn off location sharing except a few trusted people. I'd also block him on SNS or SMS? OP says, I'll block him ASAP. I don't really share location, but I do tend to talk about places I would be, like the library, this grocery store, etc., because I happen to talk to my friends about it. The first 2 times I approached him thinking Rory was with him, but after that I got the sense that he would be alone if I ever spot him. Since then, he was the one approaching me or bumping into me. We used to talk about stuff we have in common, mostly Rory, but as of recently, I try to finish the conversation ASAP and leave. Commenter says, girl, trust your gut. That sick feeling, that's your intuition trying to protect you. You're not being dramatic, this is genuinely unsettling behavior. The fact that he keeps showing up in places you've only mentioned to friends and in a huge city no less is a huge red flag. Please talk to Rory, but be gentle with yourself when you do. You're not accusing, you're sharing facts and how it's making you feel. A real friend will listen, and honestly, you deserve to feel safe in your everyday spaces. Sending you strength. I hope he says thank you, I really appreciate it. I'm still thinking of how to approach Rory because I've known her less than her boyfriend, and I really don't want to blow everything up. I hope I can drop some hints or figure out a way to see if she knows about his behavior. Hope he comes in with their first update and says, hi everyone. I wanted to thank people who gave really sound advice last week on my, honestly, rambly post/vent rant, and to those who reached out to check in the days after to see if I'm alright. I wasn't expecting such a warm and welcoming reception, and that really helped me push through this week. Before the actual update, here are some stuff I wanted to assure you all. I had my car checked by 3 shops and was doubly assured that there wasn't any trackers. We even asked a friend of mine who had a sketchy ex in the past to use their bug sweeper on everything and all. My car, my things, my apartment, my clothes, etc. Came out clean. Someone asked what we normally discuss when we meet. I can't say it's anything of note. He normally approaches me and asks how I'm doing and what I was doing at the place, and sometimes about what Rory did today. Sometimes it was what I liked or some questions friends would ask when they get to know each other, which I wouldn't mind answering if it weren't for the fact that he was showing up in a lot of places I frequent, and I was suspecting him of stalking me. Here is the update. I followed the advice some commenters suggested, which was to change my routine. I felt it was enough to randomize it just to avoid him, so I decided to do that police tactic thing where certain specific info was given to suspects to see who was the snitch, since I honestly don't know how he could have stalked me on some places. Some were out of the city, some were pretty hidden spots, etc. I told Rory, my new friend and his girlfriend, that I'd be in this cafe near school on Wednesday after we had a meeting. I've cleared my suspicion for most of my friends at this point, so it was Rory and another that I wanted to test. I stayed with a friend across the road in a bodega and saw Logan come inside the cafe where I said I was after an hour I said I would be there on. I wasn't in the best mood after confirming that Logan was using Rory to stalk me, so I didn't go out of my house at all of Thursday because I was stressed out of my mind and didn't know how to move forward with the discovery. Fortunately today, I confronted Rory about it after I mustered up all the courage and tried to see if she was unknowingly helping him, and she was just relaying info without malice. We met after I texted her that I wanted to talk about the agenda from the Wednesday meeting in a mutual friend's dorm room. He was also present as they were part of the BestOf as well, plus was aware of what's happening with my suspicions, and she came. An hour in of me fiddling and trying to find the right moment to start my hinting, I followed one of the comments of my last post and kind of stated that I keep seeing Logan in all the places I've been frequenting for the past month. It started out really well, but when I pressed that it was odd that I was seeing him almost every week, she got this really odd look on her face and asked me if I was trying to accuse her boyfriend of being gay, which took me off guard. Yeah, I am gay, not to be confused, but it was weird how she went to that direction. I backtracked and said that I wasn't accusing him of anything, but that I keep seeing him, and I brought up the fact that I told her I'd be in a cafe on Wednesday and he came after, which I then asked if he asked her about my whereabouts. I think things got really out of hand after that, and she then said that he did ask, but it was more of a concerned boyfriend checking on their girlfriend hanging out with a guy kind of way, instead of the stalkerish kind of way. I got really confused here and tried to say that it gave off stalkerish vibes on my perspective, and she got really mad that I was, in her mind, accusing her boyfriend of being interested in me and was gay for the second time. Our mutual friend broke us off because things were getting loud and incoherent, with no belief that we would make a sensible conversation, and Rory left the dorm after that. I did speak to my friend if I was taking it the wrong way, and she assured me that, regardless of my gender and orientation, men had stalkers too, and that she supported me if Rory tried to accuse me of anything. I asked my close friends the same thing, and assured me that I was very public with my gayness, so it'd be weird for Logan to assume I would be a threat to their relationship. I'm currently in my apartment. I'm starting to wonder if I was taking it the wrong way. Would a guy keep tabs on a dude his girlfriend was friends with? I'm once again at my wit's end, but I'm trying not to spiral because all the important people, friends, family, etc. support me. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'd be really appreciative for any advice. OP edits the post and says, "Thank you for all the advice and the comforting words. It truly means a lot to me. Unfortunately, despite what many of the commenters suggested, I am unable to fully break off my tie to Rory and subsequently her boyfriend, as the semester ends in mid-April for me, and we have a ton of end-of-year stuff to go through in the student government and the university paper. Fortunately, I do have other friends in those two organizations, so I'll be very much applying for their help until the semester ends. I can be with someone in case worse comes to reality. Once again, thank you all so much." A commenter says to OP, "Your suspicions were spot on, and the fact that Logan showed up at the cafe after you told only Rory proves he's been using her to track you down. The whole concerned boyfriend excuse is bullshit. Normal guys don't systematically show up everywhere their girlfriend's friends hang out, especially when those friends are clearly not romantic competition. Rory jumping straight to the gay accusations is her deflecting because deep down she probably knows his behavior is weird but doesn't want to admit her boyfriend is a creep. You did exactly the right thing with that test. That's some solid detective work right there. The mutual friend backing you up shows other people can see how sketchy this whole situation is too. Trust your gut on this one because Logan's pattern of behavior screams stalker, not protective boyfriend, and Rory's defensive reaction just confirms she's been feeding him information whether she wants to admit it or not." OP responds saying, "Thank you. This was such a tough thing to go through all week and I was starting to think I was jumping the gun. I'm not sure if this will conclusively stop the stalking, but I'm continuing randomizing and shutting up about my whereabouts until I'm sure." Commenter says, "There is a possibility Logan is a homophobe and has been stalking you with the intent to physically harm you. I would actually suggest this concern to Rory if she again accuses you of suggesting Logan is gay. And if she keeps it up, I'll start to wonder if she is a homophobe and has been egging Logan on to prove to her he isn't gay." OP says, "I don't want to spiral, but I have to admit this has crossed my mind since we fought earlier today. I doubt Rory is like that since she has been a staunch ally since I am openly gay, but it doesn't hurt to doubt her. I guess I'm reading a little that this might be a possibility." No Lifeguard says, "That's not the behavior of somebody who keeps tabs on his girlfriend, which would be probably about again of itself. Rather, he's going out of his way to meet up with you." OP says, "I said this, but for reason Rory was hung up on me accusing her boyfriend when I am genuinely fearing for my safety, and she kept denying a man could stalk a man. There's something going on with them. I don't know when. I can even hear her side when she's pissed and probably told Logan what I said." Commenter says, "I want to say maybe Logan is curious, but there are much easier ways to go down low. Could he be jealous of your relationship with Rory, like trying to find out what is so neat about you? I mean, I have no idea." OP says, "I don't go out of my way to hang out with Rory, and we mostly hang out for student government or the paper. We are often surrounded by mutual friends and very rarely one-on-one alone with each other. I do think that he may be down low, and I'm hoping my friend and I can find evidence that he is or something." So OP does come in with another update and says, "Hello everyone. I don't want to make a long update because I don't really want to revisit what happened over the month, so I will condense it as much as I can. And if anyone has questions, I will do my best to answer. Long story short, Logan has been taken to the local police station and have successfully filed a restraining order on both of them, Logan and Rory. After the confrontation, Rory began bringing Logan everywhere, which did not help their case as rumors spread of what happened with us. Dorm room walls are not soundproof, and Logan would just stare at me whenever Rory was looking away or busy doing something else. Not long after, a lot of our mutual friends dropped Rory as Logan would join their hangouts and would, unprompted, go on a rant about how bad of a person I was, making up lies about me, and go on a crazed angry speech on femboids, ruining the image of men in the current age. This kept going for 2 to 3-ish weeks during the final/project phase of school. It kind of died down as I finished off everything and prepared to graduate. Where it went wrong. I'd invited my close friends and some others to a nice night out as graduation was close by, and everyone invited had an award to be celebrated. Not sure who leaked it, but Rory and Logan got a hold that I was having a dinner at this restaurant that had these private rooms for parties and showed up. I clearly did not invite them to the celebration. I had asked my male friends to get them out, but Rory seemed insistent to stay and Logan remained quiet the whole back and forth. The argument got heated that some waiters came to de-escalate, but it seemed like he had enough and shoved Rory out the way and the friend who was arguing with her. I don't know what made him snap, but he reached me and managed to push me to the ground. I hit the chair and table on the way down and was delirious from the pain that ached everywhere. I completely did not register that Logan seemed intent to get on top of me, probably to punch me or something, maybe even attempt at my life in some way. Fortunately, my friends grabbed him and tried to hold him down, but he kept trying to break free from their grasp. By the time I managed to get to my senses, some of the security staff had come and Rory seemed shocked by the entire event that just occurred. They got taken out. My friend had suggested I get the CCTV of what happened and use it to get a restraining order, which I did the day after. Some days later, the police got back to me and asked to do an interview of some sort. I discussed what happened over the past few months, and the lady who I spoke to took me very seriously and had told me they would try to get a warrant for their devices, as they mentioned they managed to track me down in some way, and I feared that would continue. Fortunately, I had evidence of a crime committed and probable cause of stalking, so this was done. I thanked the lady and her team for being so incredibly amazing with my case. Another few days rolled by, and I went down to the station. I went with my younger brother as my family arrived in town for my graduation a few days later. On the station, they had informed me that both Logan and Rory's devices, tons of images and videos of me were found. Not only that, text messages showed that they had planned to attempt at finding my apartment and do something. Due to the evidence, I will be pressing charges. On the bright side of things, I graduated with Latin honors and got medals for the activities I have done in college. I'm happy to say that I'm currently back home and will be isolating myself for a good month before even thinking of adventuring out again. That's all from me. A commenter says to OP, wow, in the end you got lucky with that attack. I hope you're doing okay. OP says, yep, the police lady said it would have taken me much longer and harder for a restraining order and probably wouldn't get their devices searched. A blessing in disguise, I guess. Commenter replies saying, did you ever find out why this nutcase was stalking you? Not that stalkers are rational. I'm just wondering what the fuck motivated him. OP says, nope, still don't know why exactly. We suspect he's one of those red pillars / incels since his rants bear a lot of similarity to them. We also tried finding out if he was a DL with no such luck. My friend suspected that since he went to my school at the same time as me in high school, I might have been his gay awakening and he really didn't like that. All theories though. Commenter says, congratulations on all of your accomplishments. I'm so sorry they did this to you, but so happy they were dumb enough to do it in public on camera. Opie says, thank you. Total stroke of genius from my friend to suggest it and can't even begin to thank the restaurant who gave the footage so easily. Genuinely saves my life. Commenter says, glad you were able to get a restraining order and that you graduated. In your first post about the situation, you said that Logan had also attended your high school. Are you certain that you have not been on his radar for much longer than his meeting you via Rory? I mention this not to make you afraid, but because this would shed some light on his mental state. I'm sorry that you went through this, and I hope this chapter is concluded. Opie says, thank you. Personally, I've tried to dig around among classmates to know about Logan, but he didn't make that many friends to know how he was in high school. One thing we suspect due to how oddly violent and focused he was on me was that I may have been his gay awakening or crush or fixation in high school, and it slowly began to spiral without me knowing. One more commenter says to OP, damn, this was almost some true crime shit. Are they planning to find you alone or something? Goodness, glad you're okay. I hope they rot. OP says, from what I saw on the text messages, they intended to confront me about the rumors I was spreading, which were spread because of the argument I had with Rory at my friend's dorm, and a few friends sharing it with their classmates. I didn't say anything explicit, but the tone and language used that they intended to scare the shit out of me. I'm glad OP was trusting his instincts from the very beginning because although he tried to rationalize it in some ways, he was always cautious about it because people really underestimate how terrifying it is to repeatedly, randomly, air quotes, run into someone in a huge city until it starts to feel like you're actually being like almost hunted. And it sounds like the police unearthed a whole other bunch of stuff that was going on in the background, the photos and the tracking and the attempt to find his apartment, almost like a genuine obsession. And also, it has to be said, a huge credit to the friend who told him to get the CCTV footage immediately. It's probably changed quite a lot and hopefully protecting OP going forward. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.